Hey guys, this is Comic Can, and you really only have so many stories inside of you, and you don't have enough time to tell them all. You actively have to fight to make comics, period. You can't sit around waiting for circumstances to line up for you to do comics in the way that you want to do them. You actually have to brute force it into place and make things happen so that you can find the time to make comics and to make your projects and to bring them to life, because it takes an intense and insane and draining amount of energy to bring a new idea into life, and you have to develop a rhythm and a momentum that keeps going forward, that perpetuates itself on and on until you tell the stories that you really want to put out there. When you decide to become a cartoonist, with your full heart, with your full mind, with everything you have who knows how much time to actually create the work that you're meant to create, because all you're trying to gun for is a chance or a point in time where you only have to focus on making the comic, where you don't have to do anything else. All you have to worry about is drawing the comic and making it as fast as you possibly can, because what you're trying to do is get to a point where you're in a financial position of solvency, where the work that you're making is supporting you so that you can make more work. When you get to the point where you're actually making a full-time living as a comic artist, that's the exact point where you start working even harder to maintain that lifestyle. It's not the point to start chilling and relaxing. Like, that's not the point where you've made it and you can just rest on your laurels and just chill out and go to the beach and stuff. No, that's the point where you start working even harder to make sure you stay in the place where you fought so hard to get to begin with, because that's all you're doing when you're a comic artist, is like fighting for a new position to be able to draw the comics that you want to draw. Like, I'm not going to be on YouTube forever. Like, I'm doing this so that I can gather more eyes towards my webcomic, towards my stuff, towards my work, so that I can do this for a living for as long as I possibly can. And so I'm running against the clock, where if I don't take this window of opportunity to draw and write and create as fast as I possibly can, then literally it'll just pass me by, and I'll have to do a whole bunch of stuff that'll slow me down in the process of creating. Like literally, my advantages that I currently have is like, I just don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have a girlfriend or anything like that. I don't have anyone that I'm supporting. I just have to worry about drawing and making videos and doing all this stuff. That's an advantage in the comics world, because it takes so much of a gargantuan effort just to make comics to begin with, that if you have all these other things that are pulling at your attention, pulling at your time and energy, that if you have all that to worry about, then it's not looking good. Like, it's going to be harder to pull off the dream of making comics to begin with, because you have all these other things that you're worrying about. The more you can take pressures off your plate, the more you can take tasks and delegate other things to other people, like, off your plate, so that you can focus on making comics, the sole thing you're focused on, the better it is. Because it's such a demanding task to do, that you just have to develop that momentum for it. And really, the thing that kind of lit this fire underneath me was talking to one of my friends that makes comics, who also went to the Kubert School at some point. And he didn't go to school with me. He actually went like way back in the past, like maybe in the early 2000s or something like that. And he was talking about how he's like a teacher now, and he makes comics, and they're really, really good. Like, I look at the art style, I'm looking at the stuff, and I'm like, dang, this is really, really good. But he was talking to me really seriously about how little time he has left to make comics. And I was like, what? Are you like dying soon or something? And he's like, no, I'm not dying soon, but with everything that I have on my plate, it's so hard even just to get a single issue out there, a single book done, because he writes and draws his own comics. So he said it's so difficult just to get this stuff out there that I really don't know how many other stories that I can possibly tell inside of me, because there's so many other obligations on my plate that I can't just throw them all away and make comics 100% of the time. I have so many other things. Like, he has kids, he has a wife, he has school to teach. He teaches middle school, and he has all these other things that are taking his time and energy away from making the comic, that it can really only be sort of a hobby at this point, until maybe he blows up in some way, or he creates a comic that makes a lot of money. But he can't turn it into a true hustle or a true thing without like fighting like mad. And it gets harder and harder to fight the longer time goes on. When you're 20, you have all this energy, you have all this time, but you don't have as much focus, because in your 20s, you're still trying to figure out a lot of stuff about life, and things are taking you here and there. Your energy and your attention and your mind is going to different things, just trying to figure out, like, is this me? Like, you're trying to figure out, like, you're trying to find your identity at that age. And in your 20s, like, things will just happen that will prepare you for actual adulthood, that'll just blow you away. Like, somebody will die, or maybe you'll go broke, or a friend will leave you, or any things that you could never have seen coming will happen to you in your 20s, that'll totally turn your world upside down and give you the life experiences that you would need if you're a writer, to really draw things with your full understanding of the world, or your new understanding of the world. Because those years are really formative, and they'll show you who you actually are, and force you to create what you personally want to create. At that age in your 20s, it's like you have all the time in the world, but if you don't have the focus and the energy, or the system, like the Japanese manga system, to really put your effort and energy into, then it's really just going to be dispersed across the cosmos. And maybe, hopefully, it'll come back together when you're old enough to appreciate time and focus, and put your work and energy into comics to make it into something like I'm doing right now. And if you don't do that, you'll just sort of end up floating. You'll just end up in some other job. You'll end up in some other thing that is maybe creative related, like creativity related, but it's not exactly comics. It's not exactly what you wanted to do. Like, if you don't fight like mad just to do exactly what you're meant to do in comics, like if you don't fight like mad to be, let's say, an inker or a penciler or a writer, if you don't fight like mad to be a cartoonist, then your talents and skills will be used for the highest bidder, and you'll just sort of go to things that are closely related, but not exactly what you want to do. In fact, most of my favorite aspiring webcomic artists ended up working in the animation industry, and now I'll never get to see the amazing webcomic they would have come up with, unless they were able to find a way to turn it into a cartoon, in which case I would consider that the ultimate form of bringing their vision to life. But that's so few and far between, and you have to get really lucky to be able to pull that off. But it's possible these days, really possible. Because to fight is to fight for a window of opportunity where you can actually make those things happen. And sometimes years will go by before you ever get the chance to really take full advantage of doing something like making your own story, making your own IP, making your own comic, because you may have had so many other jobs and commissions and art to do for other people that wasn't yourself or wasn't your own story. And that's exactly what I have the opportunity to do with my latest supernatural horror webcomic called Saintly. It is a demon chase horror action comedy about two best friends who have to outrun the demon loan sharks that they borrowed from. Basically, it's like Scooby-Doo meets K-pop Demon Hunters without the K-pop. And the story backs the main character into a corner where she has to decide between the hard path to success or lose her soul to the lure of easy money. And we get to see the ramifications of her choice and if she can hide this deal with the devil from her friend or if it will tear them apart. And I hope you read my comic in the description and check out the story. It should appear in your email inbox or your spam folder if you don't see it. And yeah, I hope that lit a little bit of a fire underneath you and made you see a little bit of how important it is to put your time and effort into turning this into a career. Because if you don't fight like hell to make comics, you might just end up putting off your dreams indefinitely. So keep at it, and thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.